You might walk into Infiniverse and see the buildings and the skyscrapers and all the badges on the buildings and go, oh my God, wow. But in fact, that's just a small part.
Want to talk to GamerSan?
All right, I'm here with GamerSan, co-founder of Future Tech Labs. Thanks for taking your time out to talk to us.
Hey there, how you doing?
Good. What time is it over there where you're at?
It's nearly 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. It's 6:51 a.m. over here in Utah.
You had your coffee?
I'm drinking it right now. Still not awake. I was up late last night watching this cheerleader show, and I had to finish it because I had to see if they won the competition. It was good. Cool. So why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you, and how the heck did you get involved in this type of career?
Yeah, so I'm basically a producer from the games industry. So I've been working in computer games on titles that are called AAA titles in the industry, which means big blockbuster titles. Working Electronic Arts, where I met and worked with some of the best dev teams in the world. I worked out in Vancouver and in Guildford, and have shipped 3 titles that are worth mentioning: SSX 3, NBA Street 3, and Burnout Paradise. Burnout Paradise was the last one I shipped in England, and worked with Chris Cummings, my CTO and co-founder there too.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Got into games, and from games got into, I guess, apps and tech in general. And with the launch of VR a few years ago now, we were one of the first backers on the Kickstarter campaign, and got one of the first devices and put it on and realized, yeah, it had faults, but this was going to be huge, and decided that we were going to go make the metaverse.
Awesome. And we thank you for it.
Thank you.
So you're the co-founder of Future Tech Labs.
Yeah.
And so what are you responsible for in the meta right now?
Well, so Future Tech Labs is a company, like I said, founded by myself and Chris. We started it to create the metaverse. I think we had a coffee in a cafe in Guildford about 5 years ago. It's nearly 5.5.
Oh, wow.
And we were talking about doing something together, and we were trying to work out what would be the next big thing to do. We were talking about making games or making apps, and really we both sort of edged higher and higher and said, well, the big thing in the future is going to be the metaverse. That's got to be the big thing. And it's going to be a social world that's online in virtual reality. And if somebody's going to make it, why don't we make it us?
Awesome.
That was sort of what happened. And Future Tech is basically just the culmination of that into a company that has released Multiverse, which has in it now the Infiniverse. And I think the Infiniverse is probably when the, I guess, yeah, when it dropped for everybody. Yeah, wow, this is the metaverse, and they can see it happening now, and they can create it themselves, which is what's so fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good segue into my next question. As soon as you enter the Infiniverse, and I'm guilty of the same thing, I was there on day 1 of the launch. There's just this vibe inside, right? There's just this huge potential. People are instantly, how can I make money? How can I market? How can I conduct business? Real world purchases. They really see the vision of the future. So what is the possibility of this? What do you see as a possibility? And where do you see the Infiniverse in, say, 5 to 10 years?
So the possibility is what everybody's talking about right now. The idea of what the metaverse is, and that the zeitgeist, I think people are calling of the metaverse. It's huge, and it's everything that we can imagine it to be. But I've been trying to work out how to communicate it to people that aren't into sci-fi and aren't into tech. And I've come up with a little Venn diagram that I drew that sort of summarizes, in my mind,
Right.
what the metaverse is, and therefore what Infiniverse and Multiverse will be in the future. And it comes down to 3 main topics. You've got the real world, you've got the internet, and you've got gaming. And each of those at the moment are very distinct things. There's no overlap. Everybody's getting excited about AR and the ability to overlay digital onto reality. I think that's really cool. AR is going to be huge. But it's when you start looking at really taking the whole internet, not just a part of it, not just ads, not just a small section of it, but the whole of the internet and everything that you do in real world and real life mixed with that whole concept of gaming and the things that our age group and people, I mean, when I say our, you're probably younger, fitter, healthier than me, but still, I grew up playing a lot of games. You know, people like us, we've grown up playing games. We understand games. It's in our soul, in our heart. We love gaming.
Yeah.
And why is there a distinction between gaming and work? When we're on Zoom and yet we're also playing games, and we go out in the real world and we have, you know, live streaming, or like this, we're streaming directly from our homes. There's that interaction and interconnection between those functions that we haven't yet seen take place yet. That is what the multiverse, our multiverse is. And that is what I believe the metaverse will be. A lot of people are talking about, we've got a metaverse app and all they've got is a game where you can walk around and buy things. I think that what we've done is different to that. And I think that that's what people are latching onto. And that's why the Infiniverse has had such a huge success so quickly, because it is more than just a game. It's more than just work. And it's the mixing of all of those things you do in those three areas together into one place.
Awesome. Yeah, I was kind of been explaining it to people. You've got all these different various apps. You got all these different various businesses, and everything's going to be connected inside the Infiniverse. And that's the way that we're going to be surfing the web, is through an Infiniverse type.
Yeah, and the big billboard at the beginning where you walk in, you stand, one of the first things it says is welcome to the Infiniverse, the interconnected hub or network of the future metaverse. And I think that that's what's so powerful. There's a lot of companies out there trying to grab hold of the metaverse and make it theirs. Facebook renamed themselves so that they could try and take hold of that and own that.
Right.
And obviously, we don't really, as the people, we don't really want big companies to own the metaverse. I mean, if you look at Ready Player One, that was the problem. That was the antagonist. That was the bad guy, was the big corporations. And yet the big corporations don't see that. All they see is the money and the fact that they can raise their shareholder value and stock prices go up when they announce a big announcement. Like, for example, Microsoft somehow using the purchase of Activision as a reason to be moving into the metaverse. That's got nothing to do with the metaverse. That's got to do with a play that relates to Game Pass on Xbox, which is cool. I mean, really cool. I'm very pleased for that. You know, I want to see my Xbox Game Pass go up in value because I can access more games. Love it, but that's not a play for the metaverse. That's a complete load of nonsense that, yeah, makes a lot of hype and increases their share price, but it doesn't actually deliver for us what the consumers want, what we need, and why we want a metaverse. So I think that trying to actually bridge those and connect those and create something that delivers upon that, that's our goal. That's what we want, and that's what we're looking to achieve. And I think you're right. That's what you can see when you walk into the Infiniverse. Immediately, you're like, I get it.
Yeah, and I love it. I've been hooked ever since. So it's been about, what, a month and week and a half, maybe a month and 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And me and this huge community is growing, and we're literally becoming friends inside the Infiniverse. And I don't think one of us has missed a day since it launched.
But that to me is what makes this so powerful, is that community that it builds. And it's not us building it, it's you building it. And that's what also makes it great.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a thing that we're controlling or we're creating or we're forcing on anybody. It's simply, my God, these people are coming together, they're using the tools we've given them, and they're creating a community. That is what drives me to get up in the morning and go to bed late and make this thing. It's that sense that we can enable that to happen, and you guys can actually not just see it, but create it and make it. So when I talk, one of the things I know you want to ask me is a bit about my vision for the future and where Infiniverse will be. I've got ideas, but that doesn't make those the things that will deliver. What makes the product that will deliver, the product that will exist in 5 years' time, is the product that you guys have created by telling us what needs to be done. Not because we go in and say, right, well, the next thing we have to do is add billboards to add advertisement because then we can make more money. That's not how we're going to be doing it. Now, doesn't mean we won't add billboards, but it does mean that that's not going to be the focus or the priority or the way that we do it. What we want is, we want to create the tools that allow you to create the networks and the interconnections and the communities that will make this a place people want to come and people want to be, and then people want to do everything from business to social to sports to whatever it is that we all want to do in the future. of the
Wander around with our friends and surf the internet in
Yeah.
3D.
in 3D together socially. I want to be able to, I mean, theoretically, one of the concepts behind our tech is that given the right networking setup, it would be possible for us to recreate Amazon.com as a mall instantly from a website.
Mhm.
And that type of ability to take and interact with and cross branch between the actual internet, the 2D internet, with the future of the 3D internet, I think is God, wow, that's going to be so cool. So we've built the tech from the ground up to enable easy interconnectivity between the 2D web and the 3D future web. I like to say, if you think about how much do you think it costs to make the internet, the
Oh,
current internet? If you think about every web page, not just the networking technology, not just the servers, but actually just the content of the internet today, how much
billions,
does that cost?
trillions.
Trillions, not
Yeah.
even billions, trillions. The amount of money that has been poured into that today is ridiculous. So going out there and doing things that some of these companies are doing, where they're saying, well, we're going to restart it from scratch and we're going to remake the internet, that's ridiculous. We don't
Yeah.
have the money, the time. It's more expensive to make something in 3D than it is in 2D.
Oh,
To
yeah.
recreate the internet in 3D is a Herculean task that not even Hercules could do. It's it's out there and it's completely insane. So our goal right from the beginning was to enable people to take the content that they've already got, the content they've already produced, the 2D images, the videos, the streams, all of the tech that the internet supports and has been built up over 20 to 30 years to support, and then take that and put that into the metaverse, because that's already there, and that now allows really quick ease of access. I was looking at our server logs today, and we've got over 150,000 metaverses that have been created.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea.
150,000 already.
Yeah, we have over 200,000. I don't say over. We are in the region of 200,000, because I haven't seen the latest numbers, apartments that have been bought.
Wow.
But the key thing is that people are building metaverses behind them. They're interlinking their apartments with other people's apartments, or their apartments with hubs that like you've created.
Yeah.
They're doing that interconnection behind it. So you might walk into Infiniverse and see the buildings and the skyscrapers and all the badges on the buildings and go, oh my God, wow. But in fact, that's just a small part of what's actually going on behind it.
Mhm.
And that's what really makes it even more exciting, is that behind all of these doors, behind all of these apartment buildings, there are metaverses being built, and there are people creating spaces and content for other people to experience. And that, from what, like you say, 6 weeks ago, where we had maybe 300-400 spaces.
Yeah, it's awesome. That unseen layer that you're talking about of the multiverse, where people are actually starting to just weave and hang out together, is something you have to see. It's hard to even explain.
Well, within the first weeks, I was going in, and the Infiniverse was where everybody was.
Mhm.
Wow, this is a great place. Now we go in, and people are in Infiniverse, but they're also in the metaverses behind Infiniverse.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really interesting, and I love it. For me, that's where the magic's going to be happening, is in that
Yep.
area.
I agree.
So I think, thinking about the Infiniverse as the tip of the iceberg, and beneath the Infiniverse is the internet or the metaverse. That's another cool way of looking at it.
So we're seeing an evolution of the internet as we know it and the content therein, because we can't just throw it away.
Yes.
Evolving and integrating into the new 3D as Oculuses start to get popular and the people start to shape it, and you guys are just bobbing and weaving, and oh, this works, this doesn't work here, this helps you guys do this, and just growing together.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly. So there's a lot of that going on. This morning I went in really early, went into Infiniverse, because I wanted to have a bit of time to explore. And normally when I show up, I get
Oh yeah,
people. I'm like a suction.
yeah. I try to stay away from you as much as I can, but as soon as I see you on my wrist, I'm like, it's like I almost have to pull the trigger.
So it's difficult to walk around and explore it without getting
Oh yeah.
locked into questions and question time, which is cool. I love that. But I also don't get enough chance to explore the metaverses that people have created. So I got up early and I went in when I knew it was the low time of day, and I went for a little exploration. I found this guy who is from Alaska, and he's a photographer, and he a fireman turned into a photographer. He's now taking beautiful shots of the Alaskan wildlife and countryside, and he's created a metaverse using, I think, our clubhouse, and it's basically photography in the clubhouse. Beautiful location, beautiful videos, beautiful photos. And I was talking to him about it, and I said, "Oh, this is great." And he says, "Yeah, I only got into this yesterday." And I was like, "What?" You know, he said, "Yeah, I got my headset a couple of days ago. I came in here yesterday and I created this now." And we were all hanging out. There's loads of us in there. And I was like, "Oh my God, so literally a couple of days and you've got yourself a metaverse." And he was like, "Yeah, and it's really cool and people are loving it and they're getting blown away by access to my 360 photos and other things in there." And that was a joy, because suddenly you're in a situation where people are able to get a VR device, get multiverse, and have their own metaverse within a day.
Yeah, that's a huge compliment to you and your team of how easy it is to actually use and build these.
Yeah, that's thank you, but that was the point.
Yeah.
At one point, I remember we were looking at the internet. We were looking at the internet. We were saying, well, we want to recreate the internet. Well, what tools and how does that work? And we were talking about things like Blogspot, where people can create blogs, and we were talking about all these different technologies, Wikipedia, and how Wikipedia works. And eventually, we sort of narrowed down. Wait a minute, Wix sort of does this. Wix lets anybody drag and drop to create an internet page instantly,
right?
And it's been hugely successful for exactly that reason. So why are we not going to take that concept of drag and drop to create and apply that to VR? Because that is probably the most accessible thing that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Wix, all of these companies, they've created a format that lets us just drag and drop content in to create spaces. And that's what we've applied to virtual reality. And I think that's why it's also so quick and easy, but also successful.
Yeah, I believe you guys have nailed it. So how big is your team? How
big is it today? How big is it next week? Or how big was it last week?
And that's one thing I think is really unique to you, as well as a little sidebar, is your presence in the multiverse. The 3 developers that we see on a pretty consistent basis is just is a pleasure. It feels like we're really a part of something with you guys, and I'm sure everybody they appreciate that as much as I do. But
yeah, that's the goal. I mean, I think if we're going to look at it from a point of view of where this needs to go and what it wants to be, and what could be happening out there with competition, other companies trying to do things like this, I think the big difference between us and other places is we're part of the team from the point of view of you guys.
Yeah,
it's us with you that are going to be building this. It's not us telling you how it is. And huge respect to Facebook and Meta and Mark Zuckerberg, is without him, we wouldn't have the headset. Without huge investment, passion, dedication, and huge amount of talent. I mean, the raw talent that are working at Oculus, huge respect. But they do have that closed ecosystem mentality, and it's there. You can sense it, you can feel it. It's out there, and people are talking about it quite a lot. They're noticing it. Everything from when they originally bought Oculus and promised that it would not be something different, and now to where it is. A lot of people remember that and have seen that change and notice it. It's a little bit obvious if you think about it from a point of view of shareholder value and the shareholders out there. You can understand it. But do we really want a company like Facebook to run the future of the internet? Do we really want that to be who controls this? I don't want it to be me. Sure, we're doing it at the moment, but that isn't our goal. That isn't our end goal. That isn't where we want this to be. We want this to be something that everybody gets involved with, and those that are capable of helping build up infrastructural layers of networking and content. We want them to take it over with us and build their own. We want it to be a place where we help other companies achieve success, and maybe those other companies are more successful than us. We don't need to be the top dog in that ecosystem at all. We just want that ecosystem to exist, and we want to make sure that it's a fair and equitable place. Now, on that note, something that I want to point out is, we do have to make money. it's not cheap to do this, and we've been building it for 5 years to a point now where it has been launched to the public. And thanks to you guys, we now have a small war chest that we're able to go out and use to help staff up and create more. But some people have been complaining, why can't we have it all for free? We want more. We want more. What's in the business package? We want the business package. And I just need to point out, it's 100% not a money grab situation. It is really got to do with the costs associated with running these different functionalities and features. And because we aren't a company like Facebook, we don't have the tools to just say, right, we're going to lose $100 million on the first 5 years, because it doesn't matter. Actually, more, isn't it? Because Facebook is saying 10 billion for 10 years each year. That's their investment into the metaverse. We can't compete with that.
No.
So to be able to compete at any level, we need to generate revenue. We need to make a profit, because it's self-funded entirely. So we're in a situation where we thank you guys for taking the premium packages. If you can afford a business package, that's great, because that also helps. But know that the reason why the business package is more than the premium is because it costs more to us to run. The server bills per day are getting close to the cost of rent per month for my house. Level. That's the sort of level that we're talking about, and that's only increasing. So it just putting it into perspective, those are the reasons why things cost, and that's why we will be charging for things. We do want to make it cheaper. We want to make it easier. We've had a lot of comments about, well, the premium plan's cool, but it doesn't give us enough, and the business plan is too expensive. And we want to try and find I think a stopgap solution between those two. That is more accessible to everybody and can allow people to get access to what they want. But that we'll be talking about later and come to.
Awesome. I think you guys are doing a great job. That being said, what are your biggest struggles right now? Are you having a hard time keeping up with this influx of people?
I think no, the people is good. We had a problem at the beginning because we were on the wrong server plan with one of our providers, where they weren't able to scale up because we weren't part of the premium package, because we hadn't got the cash to afford it.
And there you are in our position. What you just said, that's funny.
Exactly. And we hadn't paid for it. And even though we wanted to pay for it, because we suddenly had the success and the income that allowed us to, we weren't able to scale up because they'd had Christmas holidays and the teams were off. So that caused us to have some issues around launch, where a sudden huge increase in numbers of users meant that the servers were hitting their limits and we weren't able to scale some of the servers. So others we were able to scale easily, but some of them were limited. So that gave us a bit of a headache and some stressful nights, and a lot of optimization codes by Chris to just throw at it to see if we could increase the numbers. But we got into the battle of Chris was optimizing so we could have more people, but more people were coming in and hitting the peak. And then, okay, we're going to optimize it again. And then, boom, straight away. So the ceiling of the servers was a problem all the way through Christmas.
I remember that. That was awesome.
Yeah, but that's fixed now. We're now on a different plan, and we can scale the servers as users come in. So there may be a few minutes or so, like something like that every time if there's a mass influx, but we should be able to plan for it, prepare for it, and scale quickly. So that's all good. I think the bigger problem we got are two things. One, the number of people that want a piece of our time, or a conversation or discussion, or have a problem. Probably our own fault for creating the bug in the first place, but the number of raw people that want access to a small team is quite astounding. So,
I can imagine.
We need more people, and we need to onboard more people, which we're doing at the moment. We're working on that, but that's probably the biggest single pressure, because we don't want to disappoint. We do know that the community are important, and we do want to support the community and respond to the community, but we have to do it based upon urgency of the incoming message. So if there's a real problem, we'll try to tackle that, assuming it doesn't fall through the cracks. But if not, then it's going to have to wait till we get to it. And that, I think, is something that makes us feel a little bit bad, because that's not how we would like to run the business. It won't be how we will run it in the future as we staff up and scale up. But that is, I guess, an emotional struggle that we're having right now with the process. Hiring, it's great to be in a position where we're now looking to hire a lot of people. But the people that we know we want are people that have jobs, and they can't quit, and well, they can, but they can't quit instantly, and
Right.
they can't join the team instantly. So there is going to be a little bit of a lag between us being out there looking for people and the people that we need being able to join. So that's obviously a secondary issue, which again is why you're not seeing a huge influx of people. We have hired 2 and potentially 3 people in the last week, so we're doing things, but it is slow and it is consuming, and and then managing that. Then the other thing, that's not really a problem, but it's just those are the issues that we're dealing with as a team. I think the final one is we know there's bugs. We know there's things that we want to fix, that we need to fix, but at the same time, there's also features and functionality that people are clamoring for that will help cement the community. Because at the moment, we've got a scenario where we've got lots of people coming in, but we need to be able to keep them there. And if all they can do is buy a property and then move on and create a metaverse, that's great. But that doesn't, how do you communicate where your metaverse is? How do you get people to find it? Do you have to be in there all the time for people to be able to pull out a bubble and link it and hand it off and go somewhere? That's not how this should be. And again, we just running in front of the steam train, laying tracks and doing that as fast as we can. So balancing bug fixing versus the features that we know the community needs, and that we need to be able to keep you guys enabled to also run ahead of the steam train or be in the steam train, pushing it forward. And I think that feeling is definitely there, where we have huge vision, we have huge passion, we have huge desires and interests and ideas, but we need to be able to deliver those, and that's a balance between bug fixing and delivering the functionality.
So you guys got quite a bit to juggle.
A little bit.
I love it. All right. Everybody wants to know, like, I think their 4th question in as soon as they enter the Infiniverse is, where are the big brands? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to any big brands that you're allowed to talk about?
No, I can't tell you anything. What I can tell you is that is one of our key thoughts. Now, there are 2 sides to this. As you've seen, you've got your own metaverse. You can have a public metaverse or you can have a private metaverse. And we have quite a few big brand companies, not necessarily known companies, but billion-dollar companies that are using the app privately. And you'll never see them. You won't even notice them. You won't bump into them. But they are in there and they're using the app for business. Now, that's great, but it doesn't help you understand the value of those brands and the positioning of them. So what we're looking for is the public-facing ones, the ones that can have a public metaverse, and people who can be there, in Grand Central, on the skyscrapers and places like that. And that's probably a slower process than everybody would like, because a lot of businesses see VR as a sales tool, or they see it as an education tool, or they see it as
something you bought your kid for Christmas.
Or let's play Beat Saber.
Exactly.
And great game, but that's not going to keep everybody engaged for 10 years. And I think that balance of getting some people in that actually really want to build a public-facing space where it is for people, make it more interesting to contribute towards making the metaverse, multiverse, and Infiniverse a more interesting place to be. That's our real priority, because those are the ones that you will see and you will notice, and even not necessarily the biggest brands, because big brands are always a little bit slow, but the ones that want to be the biggest, they're the ones you'll probably see arrive first, because they're the ones that realize they've got to step ahead, and they're the ones that see this as an opportunity to get ahead. And I think that's where, over the coming months, you'll see a few more things of that nature pop up, and that's going to be exciting.
This is awesome. A lot of people are going to look back, in my opinion, and go, I knew I should have jumped in there. I should have been from the beginning.
I mean, I've been in tech and in whether it's games or software or other things for years, and I'd never understood FOMO. Never. And people have talked to me about FOMO. I've seen it referenced, and I was like, I get FOMO. FOMO's for losers. What are we talking about? FOMO. Yeah. It's just a word. And I go into Infiniverse and I get FOMO. It's a raw emotion that I've never experienced before. And I'm a developer, but because we have to pay real cash ourselves, we don't just give ourselves coins. We actually have to pay. There's this real thing of, well, should I buy this bug? Yeah, I want to buy it. I need to get it now, but it's like it's ours. We don't need to buy it.
It's yours, and you feel the sense of urgency to own property.
I do.
Oh, that is hilarious.
It's extraordinarily embarrassing, but at the same time, it's real. And I never understood the emotion. I never had that emotion until now.
Oh, that is awesome. Another thing that captivated me was the VR inside and the real feeling of space. Like if you walk too close to somebody, I feel like I'm intruding their space.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because different people have that different sense of how far away or close they can be.
Yeah.
And some people you move further forward to because you want to be intimate with them, and they're taking that step back.
Yeah.
And you got to sort of balance that. And yet, at the same time, in VR, it's still not quite as easy to judge distance. And because of the big avatars with the massive heads, it changes everything yet again. So there's a thing of like, where's your sort of safe space?
Right.
You have that in VR when you're just dealing with a digital thing, but still, it's a person. And
Oh yeah, I love it. You get so immersed, and I know I've heard other people do this, but I have spilt drinks all over my desk.
Yeah.
I've actually picked up my headset off my eyes and was surprised to see the real world because I don't know why. I uploaded my beat body into there.
Yeah, well, exactly. I sometimes walk around town nowadays, and I just go like this on my wrist. I don't have a watch or anything. I'm looking for the street name. The street I'm on. Oh fuck!
Oh, that is awesome. I am guilty of the same thing. Man, if I just had some.
The first time I ever was reading a real book, and I tapped on the page because I was thinking Kindle, but it was a real book. I knew then that Kindle was going to win. You know, that was it. It's a winner. I feel the same with this.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's how easy it is to use. I love it. Oh man, that was awesome. Thank you. So is there anything else you want to add before we close this up?
No, I think the thing that I want to make sure that everybody's aware of is that we're with you guys. You know, this is a journey that we're going to be going on together. We appreciate your support. We appreciate the fact that we may not have answered all the emails or all the messages and things like that. We are working on it. We have absolutely the best intentions. Our goals here are very much aligned. I think just give us a bit of time, give us a bit of patience while we scramble to get everything sorted. And once we've got it all sorted and we start putting in the things that will really make this successful and help you guys, that's when you'll start to see it come together in the way that we envisage. For example, a lot of people are creating the transport hubs, and that's fantastic. You know, that's great. I want that. I like that. I love seeing that happen. We will provide an easier solution to get around Infiniverse.
Awesome.
So don't worry about that. Also, remember we are in beta, so there are a lot of things that we're going to be trying out, and the things that we're going to be trying out are to work out what we need to keep and what we need to get rid of by the time we get to beta. Now, that doesn't mean buildings, and that doesn't mean where people have spent money, because obviously, as much as possible, we're going to keep those as good, if not better, than they are now. But it does mean that we might be trying out things, so bear with us. We're going to try out a transport system. If it doesn't work, we'll replace it with something better. Yeah. Give us feedback. We're there. We do listen to everything. Even if we don't answer on Discord, we read as much as possible. And between us and even the team members that you don't see marked as dev, we're in there. We're looking around. We're checking. We're working with people. We're trying to understand stuff. We appreciate all the feedback. We read it all. We listen to it. We read every single review. Go give us a 5-star review, please.
5-star review.
That helps. I saw yours. It was good. Thank you. Yes, we read them all, and we care about them all, and we think about them all, and we make considerations on everything. The amount of conversations that me, Chris, and the devs have, where we have these passionate 1-hour conversations about features, not because we get to the point where we're arguing passionately, but it's because we care, and that we really do care, because we want to make this a place that is comfortable. We want to give you what you want, but sometimes what the consumer wants or the community wants isn't necessarily what's best for them. And we can probably, find a way of giving you what you want in a different format that's actually like, oh yeah, that's actually what we wanted. but we didn't know, or we didn't think, or we
Yeah.
didn't know that was doable. And I think we'll find as we come along that some of the things that have been clamored for, claimed for, really requested, you'll be getting them, but you might not be getting them in exactly the way that you thought, but you'll be getting them.
Awesome. Well, I just want to extend a sincere gratitude and thank you for everything you and your team are doing. And thank you so much for taking your time. From me to the rest of the community appreciates everything you're doing. So thank you very much for joining us today and giving us your precious and valuable time.
Well, thank you. It's been great to work with you, see the stuff that you've been putting out, and I really, really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Again, another one of those things. I do this and I sort of expect bubbles to come up.
Bloop. Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you
Bubbles.
soon, Sam. Awesome. Thank you.